Hello, it's Ren Presents time. I'm your host, Ren, and today we continue with the Hazards of the Old Ones, Part 3, Chapter 22, Medallion B. So last week, I made an effort to do an ASMR video, as I've become quite fond of those types of videos, and it involves a lot of whispering, a lot of half-whispered, soft-spoken stuff, and with a lot of noises in the background, things going on, mouth noises that I would normally edit out, pauses in speech with like silence. I would normally get rid of those, but for that ASMR reading, I left them in. So this week we go back to normal, because I noticed there aren't a whole lot of men doing ASMR videos. I don't know what it is, but anyway, it was fun, but we will proceed normally. Last week, the demons, a group of 4 demons, and if you haven't already determined, gods and demons and otherworldly entities usually appear as some type of animal in my world. So Carahil, who's a god, looks like a seal. Then you had Mab Sornath, who looks like a tabby cat. You had Bar Igura, it looks like a weird monkey of some sort. You have poor, downtrodden, tortured Mayax, who is a giant-assed elephant. And then you had Ibelex, who looks like a crane. And they come to Carahil in Lord Milton, in his laboratory, and they try to entice him to leave the magic circle he has been entrapped in and go help out Xandar like he has wanted this entire book. Carahil knows that if he breaks these universal rules that the gods have to follow, and I'm not sure who made these rules up. I made them up, obviously, but I don't know in the context of the story who did it. But they're there, and if Carahil leaves that circle, he's going to become a demon, just like the other demons in the room. And he resists and eventually inspires them a little bit. And he promises that if this whole Xandar thing goes well, he will insist that the Celestial Arboreum, the convocation of the gods at the top of the universal tree, that they will forgive these various demons, Mabs and Mayax. Mabs was overseeing Zal 88, which is a space station around the planet Gothan, which is where the giant city of Wham is located, and it became a great place of great enlightenment and inspiration. And Mabs was the goddess of knowledge and wisdom. They acquired so much wisdom and knowledge on Zal 88 that the other houses in the Zaffin Armada became jealous, particularly the House of Xandar, who always likes to have the best stuff. And the Xandars came and put all the people on Zal 88 to the sword, and then destroyed the space station when they realized they couldn't understand all the knowledge and wisdom that was there. And Mabs took the fall for that. She fell and became a demon because she gave the people who were aboard Zal 88 too much stuff, and she became a demon. Mayax, of course, was a protector of the House of Bottis, whose lands were right on top of the horrific Temple of the Exploding Head. And they begged the sisters, we're having problems. We got strange, misshapen creatures walking about on our land. We hear drums in the deep, and our birthings are becoming deformed and bizarre. And of course the sisters did not believe them, and so they were left to themselves. And eventually Mayax became aware of them, became their protector, but he protected them too much, and eventually universal balance swung in the opposite direction, and the Bottis were all destroyed, and there was nothing Mayax could do about it. And then Mayax falls and becomes a demon for his role and all that. And I don't know what Bar Igura and Ibelex did. I don't know. They did something, but never delved into it that deeply. This week, we continue Medallion B, back aboard the Seeker, where our various personages are trying to figure out how Lord Milton, is able to gain access freely to the Seeker, even though the Seeker is thousands upon thousands of stellar miles away from Cana, where Lord Milton is. Let's proceed immediately. And this is a really short chapter. It's only a couple pages long. However, the next chapter after that is pretty long, so I'm not going to combine them. It'll make the reading too long. So we will knock out this short chapter, and I'm going to try to do this in one bloody take. No mistakes. Now, of course, I always edit the mistakes out, so you never hear the mistakes, but they're there. Sometimes I sneeze, sometimes I put an in, and I hate those, and I edit out the periods of silence as they come up from the ground, and I get rid of those, but I'm going to try to do that without any, I'm going to try to do this without any errors happening. I think I can do it. This is only, 3 pages long. 3 pages. No. 3 pages long. And I'm going to do this without error. But of course, if I do make an error, are you going to know? Because I'm going to edit it out. But I'm telling you, there isn't going to be an error. So let's proceed. Chapter 22, Medallion B. The sisters wandered around in the Duke's Goshawk, looking this way and that. Lieutenant Verlin was impatient. She wanted to go to the bridge and supervise the helm. They would soon be plunging under Cloak into the atmosphere. Soon they will be linking up with Captain Davidge should they survive their plunge into the atmosphere. Verlin stepped through the docking ring into the Duke's larger Goshawk ship. She looked around, impressed by its design. She also couldn't help but notice Lady Poe and Lord Peter making eyes at each other. Not the best time to be endeavoring to cultivate a relationship. Still, Lady Poe seemed to like Peter, and Verlin had to admit this pirate was a handsome man and seemed to be a decent, capable fellow. The sisters wandered about the ship. "Anything, sisters?" she asked. They became interested in a spot on the floor near the cargo hold and flooded Verlin with their thoughts. They say there was another energy bloom similar to the one on Deck 6 that formed right in this area. One of the sisters pointed at the wall outside the cargo hold. Verlin looked at the wall. "The sister says there's something here in a deep, deep cloak." The sisters waved at the wall, appeared annoyed, rolled up their sleeves, and suddenly a gangly, blinking contraption appeared. It was a series of 3 unelegant boxes interconnected with thick, insulated cables. A large hunk of rough-hewn black metal was mounted in front of the boxes and hummed. Several thick power cables tapped into the ship's main power grid. Peter looked at it and cursed. Right here, under our noses, and stealing our power to boot. He knelt down to examine it more closely. Yes, without question, this assemblage is our theoretical Medallion B. It's complex, yet stripped down and functional. Clearly the work of the Science Ministry, several members of which Lord Milton is very friendly with. With this device, Lord Milton could pretty much come and go anywhere in the ship with a remote control, as it appears to have a considerable range. Lady Poe's face, still swollen and bruised, lit up as she watched him examine it. Verlin stared at the device. "I'll call an engineering team to have it deactivated." Peter was a bit annoyed. "No need," he said, pulling a set of intricate tools out of his duster and set to work, his mechanical skill readily apparent. The ship gave a lurch. The comm quickly buzzed in. "Lieutenant, the helm is requesting your presence on the bridge immediately. Verlin sighed. Lord Ruthven, I cannot jeopardize the lives of 2 civilians in my charge. I shall call an engineering detachment at once. This vessel is not a fleet asset. It's the property of the Duke of Olin, and it is also illegal and will be impounded should we survive this incident. Captain Davidge dropped those charges, Lieutenant, Peter shot back. The ship bucked hard. The comm again. Lieutenant, the helm again urgently requests your presence on the bridge. Verlin was highly frustrated. Comm, you tell the helm to roll up her sleeves, plant her feet, and put both hands on that wheel, and if she needs a couple of stout lads to help her out, then we'll do that. She turned to Peter. Well, Sir Ruthven, it appears I do not have time to argue with you on this matter, and it seems you and Lady Poe are making good progress here. I'd like updates as they become available, and I'm sending a squadron of Marines in case Lord Milton chooses to come back through. Certainly, and thank you, Lieutenant, Poe said before Peter could reply. Verlin turned to leave. I better to the bridge before the helm has a heart attack. Peter continued what he was doing. Don't be alarmed. You're going to hear some strange sounds in a moment here. There was a popping noise, and then a series of trilling musical notes. Verlin looked back, and Peter, kneeling in front of the device, was calmly taking a panel off the machine, Poe sitting next to him. What's that sound? Verlin asked. Peter, what's going on? Poe asked. Countdown to detonation. This device is booby-trapped. Verlin thought about what he just said for a moment. What? She exclaimed. Peter appeared perfectly calm. Yes, he said, there's a bomb in here. Good-sized one, too. We got about 10 more seconds. Casually, he fiddled with the inside of the box. Verlin's eyes bugged out of her head. Are you able to... what's the status of... Should I wrap it up, Peter? Poe asked, concerned. No need. Peter pulled a small module out of the box, and the countdown stopped. There we are. It's a Dortus 6, very expensive, very dangerous, hard to spot as well. Your engineering detachment, Lieutenant, would no doubt have tried a standard egress, causing an instant detonation. He tossed it to Verlin, and she caught it in her chest with both hands. It helps to be a sneaky, underhanded, bottom-dealing pirate sometimes, you know, Lieutenant. Verlin sat down on the hatch ledge. I don't know if my heart can take much of this, she said, her Howl accent coming out very thick. Never you mind, Lieutenant. It's rendered safe, Peter said. The ship violently lurched. Somewhat wobbly, Verlin stood and left. Poe watched Peter open the remaining boxes. You have such skilled hands, sir. I am pleased my feeble skills are to your liking, Lady Poe, he said, his arms buried in the depths of one of the boxes. Smiling, seizing the moment, she did something she had never done before, not in over 200 years of life. She wrung her hands, took a deep breath, and kissed him on the cheek. That is for being our savior just now. He stopped and blushed. Well, if there's thanks to be meted out, Lady Poe, it is I who should be kissing you. Those fast hands, those miraculous creations of yours, the lives of my brother and my duke and my future countess, all thanks to you. Well then, Lord Ruthven, I suppose a kiss on the cheek will do nicely as payment, if I may be so bold. Poe smiled and leaned forward, head cocked to one side, awaiting her kiss. Peter put his tools down and went to kiss her on the cheek. She turned her head at the last moment, and they kissed. And with that, we conclude part 22, or chapter 22, Medallion B, very short. As I promised, we see the sisters uncovered and uncloaked Lord Milton's transportation device into the Seeker. So he, with it deactivated, he can no longer just appear like a ghost. He is now stuck on Cana with Carahill. Lieutenant Verlin still not really used to dealing with civilians, and especially alleged pirates, who didn't really give Peter much thought. She appreciated, his knowledge on the situation, but was going to get an engineering detail. But then it turns out that the the device was rigged with some sort of sneaky, underhanded bomb that would have gone off had the engineering team opened it through normal procedures, and Peter, doing some back channel sort of thing, got it open and disarmed the bomb. And we see a growing relationship with Lady Poe and Lord Peter of Ruthven. Poe seems to like Peter quite a bit, especially given the experiences they've had together. And Poe would say, he looks at me like I fancy Captain Davidge looks at Sig. It's a very warm feeling that she gets when he looks at her. So she's starting to experience love, which for the whole of her life had been denied to her, as she had been a undiagnosed shadow tech female, was constantly sick with all the shadow tech inside her body. When there's too much of it, it's very deleterious for the poor woman carrying it. You lose your mind, you go into a trance. Eventually, once it built up enough, it would create what they would call the fog. It would just come out of her mouth in this billowing cloud, and it would cover the whole castle, the whole Talmus Grove. It would come down the mountainside and fill up the village too. And people are like, what is this weird, creepy fog that we get a lot? And it doesn't seem to happen anywhere else but here. But it was Lady Poe that was creating this fog. And then when Sig showed up in book 1, Sig taught her how to deal with her shadow tech, how to get rid of it safely so that it wouldn't build up to high levels where it comes out of her mouth like fog, and it made her seem like she was nuts when she actually wasn't. So she's over 200 years old, pretty old for an elder kind. Usually they live to about 220 years, and we know why that specific number. But shadow tech females are pretty much impervious to the various potions and tinctures the sisters have introduced via their program into the other great houses of the League, with the elder kind. With these potions and tinctures are meant to suppress their immortality, which we know they were granted on camera 200,000 years prior. But the sisters thought that gift, the gift of immortality, was not a good one, and people would go nuts with it and so forth. And there's probably some validity to that argument. But shadow tech females aren't really subject to the potions that the sisters introduced to make them mortal. And they tend to live a long time. I've never really said how old Sig is, or Tori Jane is. Tori Jane's not as old as Sig, but Sig's pretty old. She's at least 400 years old. Her true age is unknown, but I've always had it in my head that somewhere around 400. But shows no signs of petering out anytime soon. So, and Poe herself is getting to her time of goodbyes, near right around 220 years, when they say goodbye to everybody, just in case they happen to croak the next day. They never know in the League. It just happens, and we know why. It just happens. But Poe is probably not going to live a lot longer than what is prescribed, just because of all this shadow and silver tech inside of her. In any event, that's a very short chapter, as I promised. Next chapter, chapter 23, an unflyable ship, as the Seeker plunges into Xandar's orbit to get to Captain Davidge. This is a longer chapter, about 13, 14 pages. In that chapter, we finally get revealed, or the secret of Lord Milton is finally revealed. We finally figure out what this dude is all about. And again, when I originally wrote this, and I talk about the Duke having a secret that he knew about Lord Milton, and that kept Lord Milton somewhat in check, I had no idea what it was. I don't know. It's something, and apparently it's substantial, because the Duke knows that Lord Milton won't just out and out try to murder him, since he knows this secret and will make it known via back channel should he die. But I didn't know what it was. I'm like, I don't know. I'll figure it out. And I did. We will find out what my solution to that is, what Lord Milton's great secret actually is. We will know at the end of next chapter. Until then, this is Ren Presents. I am your host, Ren. Peace out.